Half a decade before The Nightmare Before Christmas turned Tim Burton into a hot topic hero, he directed a very different kind of gothic film. It was the story of an uncommonly gentle man cast into a world of pastel suburban sameness. Because Burton was hot off of a huge financial success in Batman, he was allowed to be as weird as he wanted to. The result was 1990's Edward Scissorhands, which featured Johnny Depp as the frightened but freakish humanoid creation of a mad scientist. The scientist, played by legendary horror actor Vincent Price in his final role, dies before giving Edward human hands, and the appendages he's left with are scissor-like remnants of his former life, which was a cookie-making machine. Which makes Edward, to put it pointedly, a freak, an outcast, a weirdo. Historically, sci-fi fans immediately saw it as a 90s take on the classic Frankenstein, which, by the way, if you haven't read the original book by Mary Shelley, it is one of the most riveting and fascinating adventure stories you'll ever encounter. The film is peak Burton, brimming with all the eccentricities that we've come to expect with his films. But at the time, Edward Scissorhands was a fascinating glimpse into the mind of an outcast auteur who saw the world differently, and who had a captivating way of wrapping its ugly and beautiful extremes into a charming story that rivals any classic fairy tale. Burton's brilliance in this film isn't just the quirky appearance and mannerisms of Edward Scissorhands himself, it's how he positioned the creepy but lovable character against that pastel cookie-cutter world of vicious sameness in the film's fictional suburb, which is based on Burton's own isolation growing up in Burbank, California.
I have another idea. We'll cover up the scars and start with a completely smooth surface.
And that's what's given the film such an enduring appeal. Beyond the quirky misfit characters and surreal, haunting visuals and soundtrack, Edward Scissorhands continues to resonate because it's a love letter to non-conformity. And that's an important message in a time when people are feeling divided by their differences. So to celebrate all you wonderful weirdos, let's look at the benefits of nonconformity through the lens of one of the 1990s most unconventional films. If you feel like too much of an outsider, rest assured that most of the world's great innovators have been nonconformists. Psychologist Dr. Jeremy Dean points out that in many respects, norms have a beneficial effect, bolstering society's foundations and keeping it from falling into chaos. But stability and predictability are enemies of the creative process. Famous thinkers like Einstein and Mark Twain held an utter disdain for authority, and visionaries like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk have built billion-dollar businesses by directly attacking the status quo of their industries, which means landscape-altering ideas tend to come from outsiders. Even Facebook's first investor, Peter Thiel, has insisted that many of Silicon Valley's most successful entrepreneurs have at least mild Asperger's, rendering them immune to social norms and freeing them to think like originals. In fact, in his book Originals, Adam Grant argues that nonconformity is the engine of innovation. He cautions that it has to be paired with a high level of competence. In his telling, when an original thinker is good at what they do, they earn idiosyncrasy credits, which lets them get away with outlandish ideas, like, say, a glass phone without any buttons. On a deeper level, nonconformists tend to have more self-knowledge, and that makes sense, because to reject the expectations of others and find your own path, you need a strong sense of your own values. Otherwise, there would be no point in resisting the temptation of that well-worn path. But paradoxically, even though nonconformists tend to flaunt conventions and go against the grain, they experience less anxiety. Maybe that nonchalance is an innate quality of nonconformists, or maybe they simply get used to being in the moral minority after years of rebellion. Either way, one thing's for sure. If you focus on forging your own path, you'll get comfortable being uncomfortable, which is a skill set that will free you to make more creative and original decisions. So if you ever feel like an outcast, look on the bright side and embrace your creativity. Just don't go creating any sensitive humanoids with cookie cutters for hands.